8-2 factor trinomials where the leading coefficient is 1. Our objective here is to factor quadratic trinomials that come in the form ax squared plus bx plus c when a is always equal to 1. So here's our basic definition of factoring when we have the following type of quadratic trinomial. This is like the opposite of FOIL. When we did FOIL, we had two binomials that we multiplied together to get a trinomial. Now what we want to do is we want to break up our trinomial into its two binomial factors. Okay, so this is like reverse FOIL, and we're going to see how to do it today. Here are some of the things we need to remember. The two binomials we get are going to be x plus m and x plus n, where m plus n equals b. So remember, when you do FOIL, you add together the outside and the inside, right? So these two numbers are going to have to add up to this number here. And the product of those two numbers is going to be this one here, because that would be like last when you multiply those two together. So m times n has to equal c. B and c are both going to be non-zero integers for all of this to work. Okay, so let's talk about logistically here what we're going to do. We're going to make a table of factors and sums. We know that we need two numbers that can be multiplied together to make this number and added together to make this number because of what we just talked about, because of the reverse FOIL going on here. So we got to do factors of 12. So we start with factors of 12. Remember, we can do negative and positive. So we've got 1, 12. We've got negative 1, negative 12. We've got 3, 4. We've got negative 3, negative 4. In our other column, we're going to add those together. Okay, 1 plus 12 is 13. Negative 13, 7, negative 7. What I'm looking for is the one that sums to positive 7, because that's what I have right here. Right? So then I circle that line. Obviously, you might be able to do it on the first line. You might not need to continue the table afterwards. But if you don't know what it is, then you go ahead and fill out your table and figure it out. Okay, then in order to write my binomials, I just take these numbers right here and put them in after the x. If those numbers were negative, then I wouldn't have a plus sign here. I'd have a minus sign, right? But because I have positive numbers, I say x plus 3, x plus 4. Those are now the factors of this trinomial. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. What if you're given a trinomial that's not already in standard form? You have to put it into standard form in order to identify, what your b and c is and what you need to factor to, what you need to sum to. Okay, so make sure you move it around to standard form. We're going to put our x squared in front, minus 2x, minus 8, okay? Remember, we're always looking for the form x squared plus bx plus c, right? And the b is what something has to sum to, and the c is what we're listing factors for. So that's why it's so important to be in standard form. Let's do our table. We've got factors. We've got sums. We're doing factors of negative 8. So let's start listing those out. I could have negative 1, positive 8. I could have negative 8, positive 1. Negative 2, positive 4. Negative 4, positive 2. Let's add those up. 7, negative 7, 2, negative 2. Let's see what matches. I need to find something that's going to sum to negative 2. There it is right there. And then I just make my binomials. Remember, the binomial always starts with x, and then you just stick in these two numbers. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, so I'm going to have a positive 2 in one. I'm going to have a negative 4 in the other. Those are the factors of my trinomial. Okay, we're going to go over two more examples here. On this one, we have a minus sign in front of the x squared. So in order to deal with that, what we're going to do is we're going to factor out a negative 1 first and remake our trinomial. Remember, when you pull out a greatest common factor like that, we're in effect dividing everything by negative 1, which is just going to flip the sign of everybody. So now this is my new trinomial that I'm going to make the factor and sum table for. Once you get used to this, you can just abbreviate it to F and S if you want. Factor and sum. We're doing factors of negative 20 that sum to 8. That's what we're looking for here. So start thinking about factors of negative 20. We've got negative 4, positive 5. No, that's never going to sum to 8. We've got negative 2 and 10. That's looking pretty good for summing to 8. Let's see, that sums to 1 and that sums to 8. Okay, so there's my winner. Like I said, you get more practice with this and you can probably get it on the first try. So then to write my final answer, I don't need to write this invisible 1, so I can just simplify that down to just a minus sign. And then I'm going to have my two binomials. Remember, we always start with the x, and then I'll put in the two numbers, negative 2, positive 10. Okay, and finally we're going to talk about what to do if there are two variables in your trinomial. It's still a quadratic trinomial, but now we have a y stuck in here. So as far as our factors and our sum, let's make our table over here. Now we need factors of negative 21y squared, and we need to sum it to negative 4y. Remember that the x is already going to be accounted for because we're going to start our binomials with the x. So you don't need to worry about the x as far as the sum, but any other variables that are in there you do need to worry about. Okay, so let's start thinking about some factors here. For our factor table, I'm thinking about 3 and 7 might be good ones here, so I could have negative 3y and positive 7y, right? That would be multiplied to get negative 21y squared, and those would add to a positive 4y. Let's see, what if I try negative 7y, positive 3y, and that would get me to my negative 4y. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to use, and I'm just going to plug it in down here. So I've got x minus 7y, x plus 3y, and there we go. Those are my factors. And finally, keep in mind that there could be some trick ones in there, meaning that a trinomial can be prime. It can possibly not have any factors. So let's look at this one here. We've got factors and sums. We're looking for factors of 9. They're going to sum to 7. Let's think about our factors of 9. You could have 3 times 3, that sums to 6. You could have 1 times 9, sums to 10. You know, you could make all those negative, but you're never going to get to 7, right? You're never going to get there. So if you think about all the factors of the number and it's just not possible, then you say that the trinomial is prime. Finally, we do have another method called guess and test. If you're a person that those factors are really easy for you to come up with and that mental math is easy, that's totally fine. You might go ahead and just start with your binomials, and you might say, okay, I know factors of negative 14. I'm just going to throw out there x minus 7, x plus 2, because that sounds good to me. That's fine, but if you're going to do this method, if you're not going to do the factor sum table, you have to show us the test, okay? You have to prove that it works. So either show the tabular method or either show your foiling with all the products that you'd come up with, right? Let's see, inside, what did I miss last? So you'd have x squared minus 7x plus 2x minus 14, and of course we combine those. So show that you have actually multiplied it out to prove that you have tested it. Try these. Let's do 1 through 11 odds.